I want to welcome you to another episode of Beyond the Surface Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Wanda J. Evans-Brewer, and this afternoon I want to do a podcast about a topic that has burdened me some. I have had the blessing of knowing some pretty conscious black men. These are men who have a sense of their own value. They have a sense of family and community and the universal struggle of black people worldwide. And specifically, they have a heart for the black woman who is one of the least protected and least respected beings on this earth. Nonetheless, having a respect for her as a woman and her being the vessel by which the birth of nations come, you get these conscious black men who in general will meet you and refer to you as queen or empress, and if you're a younger woman, they may refer to you as princess. And so this has always been just a beautiful reflection of love and respect, something that when I've been called these terms, when you talk about really making you feel good and building up your sense of self-worth and value, and giving you the tools that you need to keep your mindset straight as you walk this earth. That's what it does. I love being called queen. I love being referred to as princess or empress. And part of it is not for any sort of egomaniac reason, but rather because I always reflect back to some of the original queens. And so one of the queens that immediately comes to my mind is Queen Candace. And Queen Candace was the queen, princess, empress, or whatever you want to refer to her as of Ethiopia. And she was the queen that was able to fight off Alexander when he reached Kemet, which is ancient Egypt. And what she's world famous for being a military tactician and a field commander. And so what legend has about Candace is that she was so good, and her team was her army, her black army was so strong that Alexander didn't want to take the risk of losing his reputation at this point, which was world famous, by risking defeat against her. And listen, she was such a queen that not only did she have a mighty military group, but she also stood with them. She stood with her military force. When I get called queen, I think of Queen Nzinga. And she was the monarch of the Mundu people. And you have to forgive me if I don't pronounce these terms right, but I try my best. And all historical accounts of her was that she was a resilient leader who fought against the Portuguese and their efforts to expand the slave trade in Central Africa. I always think back to the Queen of Ghana, and probably because she's one of the more recent queens that I've learned of, but also because of her heart. Like, her name is Ya Asantewa, and she was a part of the Ashanti Kingdom of Ghana. And when the British colonists came, and they felt weakened, she gave such a speech to the chiefs. She really, really argued with several of the male leaders and said, look, we cannot fold. We cannot stand fearfully and chicken-hearted against these colonists. We need to stop them in their tracks. And listen, she ended up being exiled, but she was referred to as one of the last women to ever lead a major war against the colonists. And so when I get called these names, I think of those type of queens. I don't just think of just any old term and it just means anything and it's just endearing. So I would much rather be called queen or empress or princess as opposed to babe or boo, love or honey, which is just some passing term, some term that we just made up that has no real power base to it, no real historical value. It does not have a richness to it. It's just sort of sweet. Now, listen, there's a place for all of that. But what has really hurt me, which is why I said this is a podcast that really speaks to a burden, is that the very men, the very conscious black men that have referred to me as that, will often turn right around and ask for a full body picture. and particularly a picture where they can actually see my butt. And I understand that men are visual and they like, women are like flowers. We're all different shapes and sizes. And I understand that their organ is external and it doesn't take much to get them excited. But I can't make peace with, if you're in the presence of a queen, if you're in the presence of an empress or a princess, would you really have asked any of the queens I just described to turn around so that you could see what they was working with? And so it burdens me. And listen, I'm like every other woman. I'm a full-blooded woman, a God-designed vessel for life. I am love personified. And like every woman, I want to be kissed on, loved on, told I'm beautiful. I want my butt pinched. I want to be tickled. I want my feet rubbed. I want all of that. I want all that. I can't even get the words out. A hearty, sexual, alive, stimulated man wants to offer me in love. I want all of that. But it still unnerves me to be minimized down to the rear end. And I know that, they announced in one of the standard media magazines as Kim Kardashian stepped forward and put the champagne glass on the back of her rear end and shot the champagne back to capture it, that we're in the age of the butt. And that concerns me as I think of myself as a whole woman, mind, body, spirit, soul, as I think of all the attributes that start from the top of my head and wrap up at the bottom of my feet. That unnerves me that black men would refer to me in what I consider the highest of terms: queen, princess, empress, and then ask for a body part that tells them nothing. So let's say I send you this picture. What does that do for you? What can that do for you? How does that help us? How do we grow? How does that build our bond? Because you see that. And so for me, I believe and will always contend that the eyes are the mirror to the soul. And so everything that's of value for getting to know me starts at the locking of those eyes. And it is through the eyes that we gain the greatest access into our own humanness. You can literally stare a person down. You can stare them into fear, or you can stare them into strength. You can have a person that's so scared and they lock eyes with you and they get the strength to move forward. Those eyes, those very eyes, reveal the good sides of us. Warm, kind, generous. But they also reveal evil. You can look in somebody's eyes and know if they have ill will towards you. That the access for nonverbal cues is the best way for those eyes. And eyes reveal such love. Oh my goodness. I've looked into various people's eyes, but since we're talking about men and women, I've looked into men's eyes and knew that they loved me. And then I've looked into their eyes and knew that I was in danger. The eyes reveal so much. And so if the question is getting to know somebody, getting to know what you're working with, it would seem like the butt would offer the least amount of information. It doesn't do very much. It kind of sits there. We use it to get up and get down and excrete from, but it doesn't, if you're not having a baby, you really don't have much Action Jackson going on there unless you're being intimate. And so I'm trying to understand, why do you need to see that to get to know me, to understand me? And so then I listen to the trickery of the language. One thing I've heard is, the women that resist doing that, they resist doing that because they're working with the least. Well, why would you get that? Where would you get that understanding from? I had to tell someone, and I care about this person a whole lot. I had to tell this person. When I've heard that trickery about if you got it, flaunt it, they're only limiting that to your body. Because if you flaunt your intelligence, if you flaunt your humanitarianism, your ability to be a philanthropist, people don't tell you if you got it, flaunt it. They don't accept that on the same level. They're usually minimizing you down to the physical. The very thing that we all know fades. That the very thing, you can have brains forever. What you gonna do with beauty? We all know it fades. So why would you begin to put such emphasis there? Now, I'm an American black woman. I'm one of the stolen groups. I'm the from the ancestral line of the slave, from the ancestral line of the sharecropper, from the so for me, whenever I get that request, I resist because it takes me back to the auction block. It takes me right back to that auction block where you had white men with white wigs and buckle boots and just got these slaves standing up on this auction. They didn't even look in their faces. They never bothered to look in their eyes. They didn't care if they was crying, fearful. The whole point is you got these people looking at their anatomy. They're looking at their anatomy to decide what to do with them, what labor they were fit for. This one is fit for fighting. This one is fit for screwing. This one is fit for the kitchen. This one, that's what it was for. And the stronger, the better. The more robust, the better. And the weakest link gets the least, maybe even disregarded. It takes me back to that auction block. And there's something in that American black psyche in me that I just refuse to give in to that auction block treatment from a black man. Now that's not to say he can't admire me. It's not to say that. It's not to say that he can't decide to see all of me. But shouldn't that be for a select few? Shouldn't that be for a specific one? And shouldn't the terms for that be under agreements in the unit, under the umbrella of complete and thorough acceptance and love, meaning that this is agape, unconditional, undeserved. I know you love me completely. Shouldn't it be in that unit as opposed to under some sort of trickery of let me see what you're working with? Because as soon as you need to see what I'm working with and it requires me to turn around and you see my backside, you means that you've minimized me down to that the value of me down to that. If that does not pass your check of approval, I'm less than a queen. I'm less than a princess. I'm less than an empress. How about you take all of me? All of it. Overbite, almond-shaped eyes, puffy stomach, small waist, size 10 shoe. How about you take all of it? Let me see all. How about we do that? Or how about we do nothing at all? Because I beg to differ. I just don't believe that if a man really feels like he's in the presence of a queen, that that's his next request. And so I'm not trying to be over zealous or over exaggerated, but it's happening so much and so often. Let me see your butt. I hope she got a butt. Is it a butt? It's like, look, it's a butt. My mother is a cancer survivor. And once she got her cancer, she lost a tremendous amount of weight, and she lost a lot of her zest, a lot of her zeal, a lot of her body. The shape of her body even changed from just illness. Illness can change where your fat deposits are, or if you even have fat deposits, how you shape the whole bit, your muscle tone, all of that changes. And my daughters, for Christmas, got her a pair of House of Darion jeans. Now, anybody know House of Darion know that those are from Beyonce's line. So they get her a House of Darion jeans, and it's Christmas, and she's thriving again, and so we're excited, and she tries them on. And, she does the little three-corner poses, and she gets to the back, and she says, it's not much, but it's a butt. And I said, you know what, Mom, you absolutely right. And that has always stuck with me since the day she said that. It's not much, but it is a butt. It does what they do. If you love her, that really didn't matter. If you love me, that really don't matter. And so, I want black men, this is a challenge I want them to think about when they're using that term. I told you what I reference when I get called princess or queen or empress. Those are the type of women that shoot up in my head. These were warrior women. These were fighters. These were leaders. These were women that was committed to their families, to their communities, to their villages. These were women that put their lives on the line. That's what I hear. And so I don't believe they did that walking backwards, showing anybody their butt. I don't think they turned around for any of them. Matter of fact, I'm confident they didn't, because they were stuck on going forward to keep their people elevated. I want to challenge you. think about what you're asking for and think about who you're asking it from. I've gone through periods of low self-esteem, and I've gone through the period of trying to figure out who and what I am. And the one thing I'm sure about is when I get called queen, I pretty much have earned that title. And I think I'm going to ride off this earth with it. I have no intention on being minimized down to my butt. You have to take all of me, sir. All of it. And if it's not to your liking, you need to keep that to yourself and keep right on stepping. That's how that works. I'm not going to apologize for an inch of me. I don't owe anyone an apology, especially not for a God design. Especially not for a God design. You've been listening to Beyond the Surface Radio. And I'm your host, Dr. Wanda J. Evans-Brewer. And until we chat again, be safe in God's grace.